Hello, my friend, and welcome back. Today, I would like to talk about being a spiritual person in a quote-unquote non-spiritual world. Although it's kind of contradictory because we are all one, so everything is spiritual, but just for explanation terminology, I want to talk about, yes, like being a spiritual person in a largely non-spiritual world. And I know I can only speak from my own personal experience. I know that when you get into spirituality, you become very aware of what you feed yourself. And I don't mean just food, I mean the social media, the people that are around you, the conversations that you choose to engage in, the entertainment that you choose to watch, the movie, the TV shows, the music, the books you read, everything. When you get into spirituality, I'm sorry, I have a hair, everything starts to change, and everything, there we go, and everything begins to then become geared towards your highest good, and it like happens like little by little, but you will, I have come to find that I have become extremely picky with TV. I actually don't really listen to music anymore. I do listen to music, it is some sort of 432 hertz kind of meditation music that I just like to have in the background. I have made my social circle extremely, extremely small. And when you do that and you completely immerse yourself in this world, it is almost easy to forget that most of the world isn't awakened and most of the world doesn't think. Not that they don't think the same, but they just aren't awakened. They don't have the same beliefs and they don't have the same, I want to say knowing, but it's not a matter of like a spiritual person being right and knowing and then other people being wrong, because everyone is on their own journey, and if a soul chose to incarnate and to not be awakened during this lifetime, that is their choice. The soul is always there and the soul is always obviously awakened. It is just the human mind, the human body that needs to be awakened to the truth of spirituality, to the oneness. So what you can encounter as a spiritual person is there's a lot of times you can experience what is called the spiritual ego. And the spiritual ego is where you've come into spirituality, you learn all these things and you're like, wow, everyone needs to be living this way. And I'm going to tell everyone to live this way. Everyone I encounter, I'm going to tell them that this is the way to go, this is the truth, and this is the right way to be. And you can, become like a little self-righteous, just feeling like you know the way and, you're there to tell them. Well, you're not here to tell them, because everyone is on their own journey. It is not up to us to be the eye openers for people. And like, yes, the opportunity can come, and if you intuitively feel like you should share or you should teach or you should maybe like tell someone the way you're doing things. You never really want to tell anyone that what they're doing is wrong. You can really only like leading by example and saying like, well, for me this has worked, or personally I do this. That is a better way of going about things, only because like if you think about it, a lot of people just don't like to be told, and most people don't like to be told, and the reason why they don't like to be told is because it's the ego telling, when someone's like, well, you should be doing something this way as opposed to the way you're doing it, that person's ego, feels like it gets backed up against the wall, and it's like, well, I'm not wrong. I can't be wrong. What you're saying is wrong. not me. What you're saying is wrong. So that's why it's almost better to like lead by example and just to live this way and to do the inner work on yourself, because something that I have learned, and I actually learned this in, it's not exactly a spiritual book, but I think that it is, I think it's a imperative life book. It should be, kids should have to read it in school, but it's called, it's a very famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, by Dale Carnegie. And he talks about in this book that we are not here to teach people lessons. We are not here to correct their paths. And the reason why we're not here to do that is because most people aren't receptive and they don't want to hear it anyways. And you know whose job it is to be their teacher? Life. If you try to teach someone a lesson that they are not ready to learn, and like I said, there are special cases where you intuitively might feel like you have to speak up and you have to share and you have to speak your truth. That's wonderful. Do that. I'm talking about like the day to day, like every day when you want to correct people and you want to, you know, show them the way, because ultimately you're coming from a good place. You're feeling like, you know, if someone's stressing out about things they can't control, you want to share with them, like, don't stress about things you can't control. There's no point, you know, and you feel like you can alleviate some of their stress. It's like, well, if they're not ready to hear that, then, you know, they're not going to hear it and they're going to be almost resentful towards you for it. So we need to leave those lessons up to life to teach them, because life, aka the universe, aka the divine, aka God, knows exactly when that person is receptive to that lesson and exactly how to teach it to them. It is not our responsibility. It's not our burden to teach other people, because we don't know when they're receptive to that lesson. We really don't. We may think we know, but we actually don't. So that's really important to keep in mind when we are encountering a non-spiritual person, let's just call it. And like I said, I'm not meaning anything offensive by that, and I believe that everyone is spiritual. I believe that everything is spiritual. I'm just talking in the context of this video. So I was actually talking to someone about this the other day, and they were talking about, you know, a needing to maybe like bubble wrap things, or, you know, to say things for the masses when I want to talk about something spiritual and talking to a non-spiritual person. And I feel as though reading the situation, your perceptual awareness is so, your situational awareness, I mean, is so important. So, I mean, lucky for me, I am empathic, so I can read people pretty easily, and I can tell pretty quickly if someone is going to be receptive or not. And it actually has nothing to do with them being spiritual or not. It actually just has to do with their receptivity, because I have had beautiful conversations with people about spirituality that I would not consider them to be a quote-unquote spiritual person. I would consider them to be a non-spiritual person. But in the moment, I was able to read their receptivity, and then I was able to share from there. So I think it's really important to kind of gauge how receptive that person is. And I'm not telling you to dim your light or to not speak your truth. I just mean for your own level of frustration or spinning your wheels, or, you know, if you're not in the mood to get into a heated discussion or a conversation in that way, defending, you know, what you believe and whatnot, it's best to just not even just bubble wrap it, but just to not engage. Like, just do not engage. You know, I ran into this very recently. I was trying, you know, I have an esoteric belief, and I was sharing it with someone, And just from there, they listened for a little bit, and just from their immediate response, I could just tell that they were, one, not even like really understanding what I was saying, and two, just like completely not receptive. And that was it. I just let them say it, and I was like, yeah, okay. And I didn't respond, and I didn't feel the need, because like at that time, I just didn't feel like getting into that discussion, because it would have been a discussion, and it would have, because I know that my rebuttal would have been taken as me trying to tell them that they were wrong, and that's actually not what I was saying at all. But it was someone that I knew really well, and I just knew how they were going to react. So, like, just take the Dale Carnegie route, and like, it's not my job to teach them, and it wasn't a discussion that I felt like having, so I wasn't going to have it. And that's okay. Speaking your truth is one thing, but not speaking your truth to save yourself like a bunch of frustration, it is just as important as speaking your truth. Because spinning your wheels and getting into a discussion with someone who isn't going to be receptive anyways, I mean, like, how many times about anything, almost how many times have you ever gotten into a discussion or a heated argument where you actually changed that person's point of view? Very rarely. You may have that person see your point of view and maybe understand where you're coming from a little bit more, but at the end of the day, you're really not changing their point of view. And the reason for that is because it's not your job to change their point of view. And like, yes, I'm sure there have been discussions or things where you have kind of brought something to light that they never thought about before, and you have changed their point of view, and those are great. But like, when you're intuitively feeling like, no matter what I say, this person is just not going, I'm just going to be spinning my wheels here, don't waste your energy. And don't let your own ego get in the way of just dropping the conversation. Because you may think like, well, I have to end with me being right. No. You can leave it. You can let them think you're kooky or crazy or wrong. Who cares? What does that do at the end of the day? Nothing. It doesn't matter, So as a spiritual person, we really need to be protective over our energy and over our kind of world. That is why we kind of limit our world, but that is why it gets very easy to like get wrapped up in thinking that the whole world is like this, when the reality is like, we are still the minority right now. It won't be this way forever. However, I don't think that the mass conscious awareness awakening, I don't think it's going to look exactly the way it does for people that are spiritual currently. A lot of people awaken out of pain right now, and I don't think that it's always going to be that way. I also don't think it's going to be as like sliced and diced as it is right now. A lot of spiritual people are into the starseed thing and past lives, and all of that is absolutely wonderful and, true and like real. However, I don't think that the mass conscious, like the majority of people are going to need to know all that. I think what I see for the future of humans is that we are just going to start living from our hearts. Truly living from our hearts. And people are going to stop hurting people, so therefore there's going to be less and less hurt people to hurt people, and it's just going to have this beautiful snowball effect that we are going to able to just live in this amazing coherence with each other and the earth and everything. I truly believe that. But like right now, we are the way showers. If you are an awakened person right now, you are a light worker, you are a way shower, and we need to share that light in our own in our own ways. We need in our own authentic ways. And one of the biggest ways we share our light is doing the inner work on ourselves. You might be like, well, Anne, you just said that to not get into discussions and try to change people's mind, but then you're saying that we need to share our light. Well, sharing your light doesn't exactly mean going up to people and being like, let me show you the way. Let me tell you what you should be doing and how what you're believing is wrong. Because is that very spiritual? No. No. Spirituality comes from non-judgment, you know? So starting with ourselves internally, because light comes from within. So what to share your light, you want to brighten your light from within and let it radiate through every single cell in your body. And by doing that, you will share light with every single person on this planet by raising the collective vibration. You know, I love the saying, a rising tide raises all ships. And when you work on your inner self and you share your inner light by brightening your own inner light, that is helping the tide to raise, and it raises all ships. And like the ships in this case are, you know, the collective consciousness. You are raising that collective consciousness just by working on you. And you know, and if you feel the need to share the way I do through videos or, you know, in conversations or in communities, yes, I encourage you to do that. But I also at the same time encourage you to use your intuition and receptivity on how open people are, and just not to be spinning your wheels when there's no point. You know, we need to have boundaries for ourselves even. You know, I think that we think about boundaries about a lot of like other people coming in and violating your boundaries, but we need to have boundaries with other people. Like we need to have boundaries with ourselves. Like, okay, I'm not going to waste my energy right now. That's a boundary. So that is what I encourage you to do. That is our little lesson or message for today on, you know, functioning and, I don't want to say dealing with, but interacting with non-spiritual people as a spiritual person. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and my name is Anne, and I hope to see you soon, my friend.